with 77 to 79% of the budget being wages and benefits, why did you extend the teacher's contract by 2 years?
You have to have a contract by Ohio Revised Code, and you have to have it signed by, I believe it's by May, end of May. And if you don't have a contract, and their contract, I think they took the pay freeze, was part of the contract to take the pay freeze, and that's why we did it, to keep the pay freeze for the next 2 years.
Okay. We didn't extend the current contract. We reopened for negotiations. And in the negotiations, the teachers continued the pay freeze on their base salary. In addition, froze their step raises. And instead of a two-tier system on the insurance contribution, which was 10 and 20%, everybody now pays 20% towards their benefit package. So from a few years ago to what we are now, everybody's paying 20% toward their benefits. And even unlike Senate Bill 5, which they're trying to get everybody up to 15, we're actually exceeding that in this district. We are at 20.
Thank you, Brian.
So you renegotiated a current contract and instituted pay freezes and more.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Would a cut across the entire school payroll employees be a possibility to try and keep the same opportunities for students if the levy were not to pass? So
that has to be answered by the board because they make the final decisions. They determine who's hired, who's fired, and have the final say, taking into consideration all factors that determine how you bring in good teachers and good staff to maintain the school district.
As far as a little further on that, there's a contract, and prior to the one that we extended 2 years, there was still 1 year left on it. To open a contract for that type of thing, both parties have to agree to that. So both parties have to agree to open that contract. So even if we wanted to go as a board and administration to the unions with their contract to say, hey, this is our idea, unless they agree to also want to open those contracts, we have to abide by the current contract. So we are in a contract that is 2 years from this last July 1st. Is that correct? So right now we really can't unless there's an agreement from the unions as well to go back and address that.
on the contract, why don't you approach the unions for compensation reductions rather than just freezes?
We believe that we have excellent teachers and excellent support personnel, and the fact that they make the least in Portage County would make it very difficult for us to come and say we want to cut you even more. So that's the answer to that. That's my answer. I don't know if Brian has.
I will add to that. I think getting the 20% contribution to our health insurance was probably a bigger savings than what a 1 or 2% drop in wages, or even more than that, would be to the district. I don't know the exact amount of dollars, but I believe that's the case on that. Yeah, I don't have the real numbers right now, but I believe the savings was a lot more to have the 20% participation in insurance than it would have been to have a wage cut.
It's about $540,000 approximately.
On the savings for the health insurance. So we save about $500,000 in insurance premiums, and I believe, if I remember correctly from a couple of years ago anyhow, 1% cut in wage is about $80,000, is that correct? So the $500-some thousand is by far a lot more savings.
All right, thank you.